We'll be looking into enhancing sustainability with security with Lens. There's a lot of chaos in the whole DevOps as well as in the developer domain about the sustainability and security part. There's a lot of organizations that are talking about the sustainability part, and a lot of data breaches are also happening at the moment. So that's why it's becoming one of the most important topic of moving on with the security part and sustainability in the cloud native domain as well. Today we'll be learning about this whole topic. My name is Aryan Parashar. If you doesn't know me, then I'm the Lens champion and the tech ambassador and developer advocate. I'm pretty engaged in the whole cloud native domain with various different topics related to chaos engineering and many various other things as well that are totally into the sustainability part as well as on the security aspect. So if you are really interested in all of those topics, then reach out to me on my Twitter or LinkedIn.
Kubernetes is constantly evolving, and keeping platforms and applications secure can be a challenge. Our Kubernetes Enterprise Security Checklist identifies critical threats developers and platform engineers should be aware of and suggests mitigations to reduce risk. Download now at mirantis.com/checklist.
So let's get on to the topic. We'll be primarily focusing on the security and sustainability part, as the topic says. Last year, in the CVO Native Navigate NA 2024, the Mark Boost, CEO of CVO, said that cloud is broken. It's kind of a really opposite statement that he's made, but he's kind of right onto his statement because earlier, as it was promised that the cloud will provide certain assurities like zero lock-in policies, less complexity, higher security. But on the other hand, we have been seeing that the prices of all the clusters of handling your clusters or nodes and all the resources on the cloud side have been going skyrocketing. The vendor lock-in have been put customers and the maintainers or the owner of the particular project can't move their cluster on the other sites. So the vendor lock-ins have been made. It's been going up really complex. Skill gap has been um, like imposed in the whole domain. It's less secure. We've been seeing a lot of data breaches. Lastly, we had Microsoft server breakdown, which actually brought down a lot of services as well and a lot more, more. So also it was promised that the better sustainability would be seen like with the hardware and all the skilled and better um, lesser carbon footprints would be shown. But here we can see that all the sustainability part has been becoming a major issue in the whole domain. I'll be breaking on to that particular topic in a few minutes on the sustainability part. Seamless high continuity services that can't be seen. Disruptions have been witnessed in the whole domain. Wider control, lower control. All right. Yeah. So simplified and easy predictable nature, that's also not a very popular thing that can be seen at the moment in the whole domain. So the billing parameters and the various other organizations and groups have been building up, like the FinOps that have been coming up to tackle this unpredictable nature or the irregularity billing parameters of the whole cluster type. So yeah, that's not a really great thing that we've been showing at the moment. So yeah. So what are the solutions for this thing? People have been making their contributions through various initiatives which are helping in solving the problem of inefficiency in cloud, like special initiative groups have been made of the sustainability as well. I guess the cloud native sustainability group has been made. A lot of meetings have been held by those groups every month by that are handled by various different people from different groups, like the marketing team as well and the financial team as well. Similarly, FinOps have been made to tackle this problem. Cloud FinOps is an evolving branch of financial management disciplines and cultural practices, which particularly focuses upon enabling organizations to get maximum business value by helping engineering, finance, and business teams to collaborate with each other, to collaborate on data-driven spending decisions as well. FinOps have been helping and bringing up a lot of collaborations between different organs of organizations, promoting open source and cloud majorly, and holds active sessions and efforts. They've been holding a lot of meetups as well in various different chapters. Like we does have a lot of Kubernetes chapters as well, KCDs, and various other DevOps meetups as well. So they does have a lot of teammates which are collaborating constantly with each other, looking up to the solutions that can be made in the whole domain so that the carbon footprints can be decreased and efficiency could be increased. Yeah. So that's a major issue, and that's the kind of solution that they've been working on at the moment. So security have been becoming one of the major issue in the whole domain. Defining cybersecurity. First of all, let's discuss what do we mean by cybersecurity. A lot of people are getting a really kind of confusion state. They've been sitting in in various yeah confusions. So it is one of the most important field which is responsible for stopping the data leakage. A lot of investors' money have been like bleeding out due to the cyber attacks and servers malfunctioning, which eventually reduces the customer's trust and credibility of the application. Cybercrime costs include damage and destruction of data, stolen money, lost productivity, fraud, theft of personal and financial data, and reputation harm. Cybercrime represents the greatest transfer of economic wealth in history. Risks the initiative for innovations and investments is exponentially larger than damage inflicted from the natural disasters in a year. So, yeah, I mean, I'm in the college at the moment, and I've been engaged in a lot of projects as well. But the juniors and various other people came up to me on various, I don't know, on which topics, and have been passing their comments like it's included in the cybersecurity domain. So there's a lot of confusion as well on this particular thing. So that's why it is important to look at the proper definition of the cybersecurity at the moment. It's a huge industry. So as we can see, cybersecurity and attack data is the whole data report by SecureWorks. You can check it on the internet. In 2024, cybercrime is predicted to be to cost the world about 9.5 trillion annually. It's a huge amount. So if we have to treat it as a particular country, then we can say that it's the third largest economy after US and China. So that's why there's a huge opportunity as well. If you could find a particular solution in this domain, in this thing, as we just now saw, Mark Boost passed that the cloud is broken. That is also one of the major reason that the security hasn't been promised as good as it was at the starting, like the vendors and the cloud providers, they doesn't have that proper solutions. So to mitigate the cyber threat, cybersecurity should be a high priority in the bedroom of every company. The cybersecurity ventures predict that by 2025, 35% of the Fortune 500 companies will have board members with security experiences, and by 2031, that will climb to more than 50%. This is up from estimate of 17% in 2021. So the whole estimated, the expected, and the reality graph have been differentiating a lot, and that's too is going up on the whole curve. So it's becoming really important for all of us to know about the security aspect as well. Security measures to be taken, like for us, Kubernetes system administrator or any other particular person who is just investing a lot of money in this particular tech onto the clouds, they have to be really, they have to look into these particular measures as well. You have to be really careful that these things doesn't go bad anyway. So the first point is continuous real-time monitoring for every resource and components within our infrastructure. That's what I'll be talking about. The Lens IDE in just a few minutes. Better authorizations and authentication to secure data leakage. I've been seeing that a lot of people to just show their teammates that how that what's the status of all the clusters and nodes in the on their workloads. They usually share the config maps and various other things as well, which can particularly provide the that particular person with the administrative access, which can be really vulnerable as well for the attackers. So that's one of the major issue. Zero lock-in policies in the vendors and services so that owners can mitigate to other platforms in case of an attack. Like if a particular server has been hacked or attacked by some hackers or some other entities, then the services usually comes down. We've seen a lot of services have been going down on the last attack, on when the servers went down by Microsoft. A lot of airlines, banks, and share markets, all them just frozen for for some minutes until the problem was solved. So it's also one of the major issue to look into. Zero lock-in policy by the vendors and services that has to be maintained so that owners can migrate to other platforms in case of an attack. Handling secrets securely, sharing config maps and encrypted messages with the team, it's also one of the major issue. If you does know about the whole Kubernetes security aspect, then it's one of the major issue. I can say it's just defined in one particular statement. That's right. So better Kubernetes network policies help to control the traffic flows between the pods to define which pod can communicate. um, we does have a lot of different microservices onto our cluster, and thus it is really important for us to maintain the network policies between all those pods and resources, so that a particular, if any particular resource get attacked by someone, then he can then that particular entity can access to the main data file or many or the other microservices as well on our cluster. So it's a major issue that has to be looked into while designing our infrastructure. First, let's move on to the sustainability part as well, on the whole, all the measures and all. So as it was planned earlier, that how sustainability will be a huge issue if we don't migrate to the cloud. But at the moment, the sustainability is a major issue at the moment in the whole cloud domain. So why is it? Let's see how things are going. The cloud has revolutionized the industries, but its environmental impact has been often overlooked. Initially envisioned, envisioned as a green technology, the cloud was expected to optimize the resource utilization and reduce our carbon footprints. But it's being really um, consuming a lot of resources at the moment. Like with the first of all, what do we mean by the sustainability thing? Okay, so for every particular service, our computers are running with are running with some computing power as well. So that computing power has to be reduced as much as possible. It's been a major issue and have been looked into by various leaders as well of the whole world. Like the EU have been investing on this particular topic. The BRICS and G7, G20, all of these countries have been looking into this particular thing. Like we does have different ratings for our applicants and various tools as well. Like if we would buy an AC or a fridge, then there does have a particular rating that has to be maintained, that has to be looked into, like how much carbon footprints does it produce in a particular amount of time. So that's the thing. That same thing is being looked into in the cloud domain as well. Not into that field, but a lot of resources have been running without any reason, and that has to be controlled. If the traffic isn't flowing at the moment on those workloads, so that has to be maintained to reduce the carbon footprints. The technology designed to enhance efficiency and reduce waste has itself become a significant contributor to the environmental challenges. While the cloud promised a sustainable future, its rapid in expansion has raised concerns about its carbon footprints. It's time to delve into the complexities of the paradox. So here's the whole calculations from the goclimate.com. If you want to look into this whole calculation more, this whole particular report, then you can search it on the Google carbon emission calculations. So the cloud server that are using 100% green energy is I've seen that 160 kg of CO2 per year have been produced per pod. So every pod have been producing 160 kg of CO2 per year, while a cluster on hyperscale with 4 nodes have been producing the same thing on 640 kgs of CO2 per year in every cluster, because it's a hyperscale and we are calculating for 4 nodes. And the on if we would take on-premise or data centers servers that are using 100% of green electricity, then it is witnessed that 320 kgs of CO2 equivalent have been produced per year per server. And on as your data center service that are not using non-green electricity have produced as total of 975 kgs of CO2 per year and per server. So the whole gap, the whole difference between the non-green electricity when used and when they aren't using the non-green electricity, 975 minus 328 come across 655 kgs of CO2 nearly. And it was seen that the this particular difference, or when it comes to the 640 kgs of CO2 per year per cluster, that kg and that emission is close to this emission of Euro 6 car after traveling about 15,000 kilometer per year. So that's a huge number, I would say. There's actually it was equal to 750 kgs of CO2 per year, and we does have a really close number, 655 kgs of CO2. That's a huge issue if you would look into uh, the amount of CO2 that would be emitted on traveling in a Euro 6 car for about after 15,000 kilometers per year. That much amount of CO2 would be emitted per cluster on our server when it comes to hyperscale, or has the difference in the 100% green electricity and non-green electricity. So you can see the whole importance of using proper sustainable solutions and green electricity. So that's has to be one of the major concern that you should look into. So here are some of the initiatives that I told in the starting. Various SIGs, special initiative groups, have been produced to keep a check on sustainable measures with the whole landscape. These SIG groups hold regular meetups and conferences across the world to spread awareness about the project, problem, and promote efforts the whole community. European Union have been keeping a close eye on the sustainable solution, which can help in reducing carbon footprints. Huge investments have been made, provided by the unions, banks across the world, as the small step in the direction of promoting green energy. So I'm also a part of the Cloud Native Sustainability Group. This you can see the logo of the CNCF SIG Sustainability Group. So they does have a lot of regular meetups. They plan for the sustainable measures and collaborate with all the different projects. If you have built a really nice solution, then you can reach out to them and kind of ask them to promote your project on the global scale on in different conferences and meetups. Like I just now attended KubeCon Hong Kong, KubeCon plus Cloud Native Con, OpenAI at Hong Kong. So if you really want to contribute to this particular domain, then there are a lot of different SIG groups as well with whom you can collaborate. There does have a lot of experts as well who can help you to reach out to a particular solution if you does fall into some kind of a loop or trap. So that's a huge thing. Steps to include increase sustainability. All right. So here are some of the steps that can be looked into in the Kubernetes. Use lightweight architecture to reduce resource footprints and limit the exposed interfaces. We does have a lot of solutions, but the overhead computing power and um, the whole resource utilization is a big issue in the whole domain. So that, we have to be really careful and look into the lightweight architecture solutions that are available at the moment for in the whole landscape or the domain. So continuously monitor and adjust the size of instances and services to match their workload requirements, avoiding over provisioning. We can continuously monitor the live monitoring of our cluster with a kind of an interface like Lens IDE, which can help in the live monitoring of our cluster or the irregularities that have been witnessed in our cluster so that we can work on the troubleshooting part as well, and lesser resources could be wasted in this whole particular process. Implement auto scaling to adjust resources dynamically based on demand, which ensure that the servers and services run only when needed, reducing idle resources and energy consumption. It can be done by using various CRDs and environment within our clusters. So we does have a lot of projects as well, like Green and Kepler and a lot of other projects as well. The Kepler is a particular project that is based on the eBPF part that runs on eBPF. So they does have a lightweight architecture, and this CRDs and environments. These can be seen in the Green part. They include a lot of CRDs which can help in reducing the carbon footprints by various features and functionalities, like making their pods and resources to sleep when they aren't being in use and when the traffic is comparatively lower as compared to the other regions. Like if we have a particular data center in Asia and the other one in the Europe and the third one in America, then due to the time zone difference, we can have different traffic that's been going through in various different environments. Like in China or in India, they does have kind of similar time zone comparatively. So at night, if there doesn't have that much traffic ongoing, then we can sleep some of the pods so that we can save a lot of carbon footprints that have been produced, as I have shown in the previous slide that how much they've been producing. Easy scaling up and down of clusters ensure higher sustainability, avoiding the wasteful use of power and computing resources. As I said, if we are able to scale up and down of scale up our cluster or scale down our clusters based on the traffic dependency and the traffic that is seen at any particular time, then we can just configure them in a way so that lesser resources can be wasted depending upon the requirement of our cluster and their resources. If they doesn't need that many pods or the resources going at the moment, at the moment, then we can just make them sleep or scale them down. So yeah, let's see how Lens can help in solving these problems as we all came at the first hand. That was all the particular problem that has been seen at the moment in the whole domain of cloud related to the security and sustainability. So here are some of the solutions that Lens provide in order to solve these problems, security and sustainability. First of all, we have our Lens ID. It is an ID, an interface that can help, as the name suggests, it is the Kubernetes ID which look into the cluster as a lens, if you could understand about the whole thing, which look into the cluster on each atomic level for different components and resources. So as the beautiful interface, which where you can look into the clusters or application part, has the whole CPU and memory usage, or the pods usage, the whole limit and request at the moment, as our traffic or the as the traffic and the whole status of our resources at different time zones. Like if it does have any particular irregularities in our workload, then we can just, and if we experience any particular inefficiency in our cluster, then we can just look into the status part and look at where we have got the quirk, the irregularity in our graph, and just look at the troubleshooting part. It makes the whole process a lot more easy comparatively to the whole terminal thing. It holds a community of more than 1 million users and teams, and thus we have an excellent um, community and the support as well, the whole company support. So there are a lot of developers who are using this particular tag. So if you does find any particular problem while using this tool, then you can just ask out or get connected to the whole community. Uh, it does have a better support team as well to look into your problem. Lens allows you to connect and interact with multiple clusters with all the resources like deployments, objects, replica sets, networking, security, etc. So I'll be showing this particular tool in a while. It does have a lot of, you can even look into the network parts or the storage or the security center and various other aspects as well. We can share our Kubernetes clusters without having to share our kubeconfig files. So as I said in the starting, if we want any particular teammate to look into our cluster, to look into the status of any particular resource within our cluster, any particular resource or the pods, replica sets, deployments, or replica sets or daemon sets or any other resource either, then if we provide the config map, kube config files, not config, kube config files, then we kind of provide them with the cluster privileges as well. The RBAC, the role-based access control, that won't be followed as stated or as developed or designed in the starting. So that will kind of just won't hold on to the whole initiative of the cloud thing, the whole security aspect. So thus it's really important to look into this problem. Lens offers security center, which helps in checking for dedicated vulnerabilities and can check or run security check to show the status of all the resources, images, and pods as our security center, as I was talking about at the starting. So they had an amazing interface for the security center as well. You can just look into the overview or images or resources. Here we have all the resources in our cluster. Is the number of vulnerabilities depending upon the state we are in. Like if we does have a critical vulnerability, then it would be pinged with the red um, uh, red tape either. So Lens offers security center, which helps in checking for detailed vulnerabilities and can run a security check to show the status of all the resources, images, and pods. We can troubleshoot the bottlenecks in the cluster by looking at the metrics at different timestamps to identify its nature depending on the spikes and irregularities. So it is an amazing whole interface to look into the our cluster or all the vulnerabilities that are present at the moment. That is offer those metrics and status as well, so that we can look into these spikes and find the troubleshooting. We can just troubleshoot and find the problem. Yeah, here's our another tool, K8s, is streamlined, easy to install, and versatile Kubernetes distribution developed by Lens, which is configured with all the features needed to build a Kubernetes cluster and packed as a single binary for ease of use. So it doesn't have to download the other software packages. It is easy to install in a single binary infrastructure, which can help you in engaging with all the engaging and getting all the Kubernetes privileges, and without having to install the huge files, all the huge um, packages either. It holds CNCF certified Kubernetes software conformance, FIPS 142, and Kubebench security benchmark as well. So these are the certified certificates that have been awarded to the KOS. It is the okay. So as we all know that the Kubernetes is also called as K8s. At the moment, at the starting, I came to know about this particular this whole particular thing. K8s, it does have this eight in between because in the whole word of Kubernetes, they have eight words in between K and S in the whole uh, word. This Kubernetes. But when it comes to KOS, I was wondering that why did they put a zero in between K and S? So has my stand on this particular question, I would say, because there does provide a lot of this zero concept with zero cost QoS, because QoS is an open source software which let us access its features for our personal use without charging any fees. So you can run this amazing tool without having to pay for any fees if you are using this particular tech for your personal use or with the team. It's zero friction, so KOS drastically reduces the complexity of installing and running a fully conformant Kubernetes distribution. Clusters can be bootstrapped and deployed within minutes because it's a better and lightweight architecture infrastructure. So there doesn't take as much time when compared to the other Kubernetes distributions and other solutions that are available in the whole domain. So they does offer a zero friction policy as well. If you does know about the CVEs, these are the common vulnerabilities and exposures in the kernel as well. There is announces various CVEs, and in the similar way in the Kubernetes world as well, there does exposes and announces various CVEs that has to be maintained and looked into by these engineers and developers of the clusters, so that they can look into these problems and just make various different solutions to resist their solutions and to get vulnerable to these CVEs. And thus KOS provides a zero CVE policy, so that that is your developers doesn't have to be so much dependent upon their skills to look into the solutions to solve these problems. KOS, by aiming for the zero common vulnerabilities and exposures, CVEs aims to install Mirantis curated versions of current upstream Kubernetes binaries with the known CVEs minimized and new CVEs removed as rapidly as possible. So they does have a continuous uh, continuous process of the whole minimizing and rapidly removing all the CVs that have been announced at the moment in the whole domain, so that um, the whole dependency doesn't come on to your developers skills fully. So that's the whole zero CVs part. And the zero depths, the depths stand for dependencies, if you doesn't know. So a distributed as a single binary, our QoS has been distributed as a single binary with no host operating system dependencies besides the host OS kernel, signifies that QoS is designed to be self-contained and independent, which with any Linux OS without additional software packages or configurations. So it isn't dependent on the various other binaries or the software packages that comes onto your OS kernel. Thus, it makes our QoS single binary a lot lesser dependent and lightweight comparatively. It is self-contained and independent, which with any Linux OS would additional soft with the without any additional software packages or configurations. So there is an amazing feature that's provided by the KOS. Let's look into what is, first of all, what does it mean by the single distribution. I've been talking so much about the single binary, single distribution thing. So let's look into this particular concept as well. So KOS is an open source Kubernetes distro packed as a single binary, which is easy to get accessed at any operating system. And KOS encapsulate all the necessary Kubernetes components, additional components specific to KOS and dependencies into a single executable binary. Thus, it is easy to get downloaded within few minutes without any additional software packages dependencies. So it's the our host operating system. It doesn't matter which particular hosting operate OS we are using, whether it is Linux kernel or the Windows or Mac OS, or we can install it on any particular OS, whether it is bare metal or any other OS either. And our whole KOS binary would be hosted on our operating system with the Kubernetes packages and KOS component dependencies, all of these things. It doesn't depend upon the various other software packages, thus it makes it a lot um, lightweight and different as compared to other solutions in the whole domain. The QoS binary runs on on host operating systems like Linux, which provides the fundamental system resources needed for QoS to operate, such as CPU, memory, network interfaces. KOS doesn't depends on other software packages, but it does have a lot of functionalities. It does have hold all the functionalities that are required for our Kubernetes cluster to work as fine as possible. It can it can manage and play with the with our CPU and memory network interfaces without any stoppage, and just use it with the continuous flow onto our on our operating system, which doesn't depend if it is Linux kernel or Windows or Mac OS or any other operating system either, whether it is bare metal either. So it's a huge thing. As I said, QoS is an amazing tool. So let's look into the sustainable and security aspect as well, for which we've been discussing so much from a long while. So let's look at the sustainability and security aspect of where QoS contributes to. QoS lightweight and architecture reduces the system's resource footprints by limiting the exposed interfaces. It does provide a lightweight architecture which reduces the dependency on other software packages, thus producing a lot lesser carbon footprints compared to other solutions. And when it comes to the security aspect, the isolation from the host prevent conflicts with the host system libraries and protect the cluster from vulnerabilities that might exist in the host system packages. So if our system was dependent on the other software packages as well, so those particular packages would be at if I would show, they will be present at the base onto which our single binary would be built upon. So if there does have any particular vulnerabilities, or the attackers might be able to access that lower level, then it would make our upper level infrastructure as well a lot um, vulnerable to any particular attacks. So if they does find any problem, any conflicts within the lower level of the software packages onto which our single binary depends upon, then it would um, make our system as well a lot vulnerable. Thus, KOS is a lot better solution to this particular problem. Separate processes and services that need to run on our host systems are reduced after packaging all components in a single binary. So QoS does pack all the components that are required to be used in our Kubernetes domain in a single binary, and that does provide a better sustainable feature. Like if we would be running all of those different components on different microservices or on different, if we would be using them all on different components, then they would be producing a lot more carbon, and the carbon footprints, I mean, they would be producing a lot more carbon footprints. They would be, yeah. So in that way, KOS does provide lesser carbon footprints and a better sustainable infrastructure. Easy scaling up and scaling down of clusters ensure higher sustainability, avoiding the wasteful use of power and computing resources. Also, if we would be able to secure scale up or down our clusters based on to the um, status of our cluster, then we can also resist any particular attacks that might be possible and that might be going on in our environment. So that's an amazing thing. I think we'll be seeing this particular point over here as well. Single binary ensures consistent behavior across different environments for easier to manage security configurations. So the single binary infrastructure of our QoS ensure the consistent behavior that could be broken if it wasn't in a single binary infrastructure. Like if, as I said over here as well, the does package all the components in a single binary, does the dependency of a particular of our main component get reduced on the different components that are running in our cluster. Like if we are having the database component that is connected to the another running component, whether it is Redis or I would say any other particular environment. And if that breaks down due to any particular reason, if any attack has been made, then that service goes down. And similarly, our database can't find any other solution for that particular thing as well. So that's a huge thing. A single binary ensures consistent behavior across different environments for easier to manage security configurations. QoS can be integrated with various security tools to enhance security. So if you does find any other solution as well that could be really helpful for your environment, or if you does provide or produce various security uh, tools within your particular organization, if you have produced any particular uh, solution to be used within your organization, then you can integrate it with the uh, QoS environment as well to enhance your security. Zero CVEs with the infrastructure further promotes higher security, as we said. Critical vulnerabilities exposures that can be a real threat to your solution, to your whole cluster. Thus, zero CVEs with the infrastructure further promotes higher sustainable and secure practice. So that's the whole sustainable and secure. You can also find a lot more points if you would like to look into the this QoS project. Then you can just star them and look into the project on GitHub and various other platforms as well. Thanks a lot for joining.